Welcome to Sarat Chandra IAS Academy, where your dreams are our mission. This is Yatharth here. Today we'll further on our lectures and see more news. So the first news that we come across is India set to man its Arctic base around the year. Now with around the year, we mean to say that even during the winters, we'll display presence at the Arctic. Now take care, we are talking about the Arctic, while we have bases at Antarctic too. And Antarctic has been more into news than Arctic. But in this news, we are specifically talking about the Arctic. So because of this reason, mapping becomes important. So we'll see about that as well. Alright, so what does the news say? That Himadri, India's Arctic research station at Ny-Ålesund in the Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard in the Arctic Ocean, will now remain operational throughout the year. On December 18th, India sent off its first winter expedition comprising 4 scientists from 4 different institutes to Himadri. So Himadri is the name of the base at Arctic. Now bases in the Arctic, so at least 10 countries have set up permanent facilities at the International Arctic Research Base in Ny-Ålesund, a small town above the 78th parallel north, about 1200 kilometers from the North Pole. Sorry for the disruption. The Svalbard group of islands is the closest human habitation to the North Pole. Now this point is important here. Alright, the Svalbard group of islands is the closest human habitation to the North Pole. The mean temperature in Ny-Ålesund in February is the coldest month, is minus 14 degrees Celsius, and that in July is 5 degrees Celsius. So it's rather easier to be there during the summers than in the winters. So due to the extreme cold, taking scientific observations or sampling has remained largely limited to summer months. India will join a small group of countries that operate their Arctic research bases throughout the winter. Okay, let us see the location now. So this is our India. And as we go up north, we encounter various countries, but majorly Russia here. Further from north, this is the North Ocean or the Arctic Ocean. In the Arctic Ocean, here we see a region which is known as the North Pole of the Earth or the Arctic. Alright, now here we see the Svalbard group of islands or archipelago. And this is the closest human habitation. Here we have the Himadri Arctic Research Station. Going further, we see that this is Himadri here. Just a second. This is Himadri here. And there are various different Arctic stations such as Korean station, the Chinese station, NPI Instrument Park, AWI. Alright. And this is where we are seeing this. The Ny-Ålesund, Paris, France, Poland, Bartbang. And these are all a Norwegian group of islands. What's important here for us is to remember the name of the seas around this area, such as the Barents Sea, the Greenland Sea, the Norwegian Sea, etc., which surround this area. The whole portion is under the Arctic Ocean circle. Let's move forward and see more points. So the area above the Arctic Circle, north of latitude 66 degrees 34 minutes north, is a part of 8 countries, that is Canada, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Russia, Sweden, and the US, who make up the Arctic Council. So this Arctic Council is important, plus the Arctic Ocean. So these 8 countries must be remembered, which make the Arctic Council. Scientific research in the Arctic region is governed by international legal instruments like the Svalbard Treaty of 1920. So in the same previous lecture, we talked about the coup d'etat in Africa and talked about the ECOWAS as well. So there was a treaty in 1970s. So you can comment the name of that treaty. And this is another treaty, the Svalbard Treaty of 1920, and the UN Convention on the Law of the Seas, that is UNCLOS. Apart from the individual jurisdictions of the Arctic countries. Now, what is the impact of warming here? So, temperature in the Arctic region has risen about 4 degrees Celsius on average over the last 100 years. 2023 was the warmest year on the record. The extent of Arctic sea ice has been declining, and same has been happening in Antarctica as well. At the rate of 13% per decade, according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that is IPCC, better known as IPCC. At this rate, the Arctic could become ice free in less than 20 years. So, what's important here? The question arises that why do we want to go in winters? What special will we get there? The thing is not the speciality of what we will get there in winters. Thing is that how much we can research about it. Because glaciers are the most preserved structures, geological structures on Earth. And one more thing is that the rate of decline that it will be disappeared in 20 more years makes it very vulnerable thing. Such as we only have this much time if we do not preserve them to know about them at least. And to know about them will help us preserve them. So this is a cyclic thing. Alright, this is why we have to be there throughout the year 24/7 to know about them and to preserve them so we can have them for longer. So the melting sea ice can have global impacts reaching beyond the Arctic region. This is one thing. The next question that arises is that why at all do we want to preserve the Arctic ice? So rising sea level can influence atmospheric circulation. An increase in tropical sea surface temperature could lead to increased precipitation in the tropics. A shift in the ITCZ, that is intertropical convergence zone, and high chances of an increase in extreme rainfall events. So this is the major reason because of which we want to preserve the Arctic. On the other hand, milder weather due to global warming could make the Arctic a more habitable and a less hostile place. There could be a rush to explore and exploit the Arctic resources, including its minerals, and countries will seek to control trade, navigation, and other strategic sectors in the region. So both of the things are very harmful for Earth, let's say, and the human population. This is why we want to preserve it. Okay, moving further on, what is the role of India in the Arctic? So India did sign the Svalbard Treaty in Paris in 1920, but it took until 2007 for the first Indian expedition comprising 5 scientists to visit the International Arctic Research Facilities at Ny-Ålesund with the purpose of initiating studies in Arctic microbiology, atmospheric sciences, and geology. India's permanent research station Himadri began operations in July 2008. So this we are talking about the Arctic. Dakshin Gangotri in Antarctica was set up much earlier in 1983, 2 years after India's first expedition there. Dakshin Gangotri is now submerged under ice, but India's 2 other stations, Maitri and Bharati, are in use. So Antarctic has 3 stations. Just a second. So we have 1 station in Arctic right now, that is Himadri, and 3 stations in Antarctic, out of which one, that is Dakshin Gangotri, it is dysfunctional now. There are 2 more. They are Maitri and Bharati. Alright, so these 2 are still functional, but they are in Antarctic. So Himadri, which is currently manned for around 180 days every year, has so far hosted more than 400 Indian researchers who have made a total of 200 visits to Svalbard. Okay, let's now talk about the Arctic again. So this is Canada. What I told you important here again is to remember the names of these sea. So Chukchi Sea, Laptev Sea, Kara Sea, Barents Sea. Alright, these are around the Greenland and this Arctic region, and Beaufort Sea. What can come into option that these sea, Barents Sea, Laptev Sea, the Chukchi Sea and Beaufort Sea, these seas are located in the region of Arctic, Antarctic, Mediterranean, or let's say Atlantic. Alright, and you may not be able to figure out because we see them so less often. So please remember the name of these seas. Alright, so respective countries can even be asked that where is the Kara Sea, which country is closest to the Barents Sea. Alright, which is closest to the Chukachi Sea, the Beaufort Sea. So you can name the countries such as Alaska, Canada. Alaska is territory of US. It was purchased from Canada. Okay. And what is the latest update about the Arctic? So extreme heat events, the wetter events, declining sea ice. So all of them point out to environmental degradation of the ecological habitat in Arctic. The value of collaboration, holistic observations, restoring peatlands. Peatlands are also very important geographic formations. That what are peatland, what are marshlands. All right, what is permafrost? Question has been asked on permafrost. So please take care of all these things. Increasing marine algae, early snow loss, extreme precipitation, tundra greening. Tundra greening can be asked, it's very important. Warm ocean water, near record melt, unprecedented wildfire, salmon up and down in 2022. So these are all the things which have been observed around the Arctic Ocean. So it is a vulnerable place that is very sensitive to changes that is happening around it. And this is why we have to take care of all these things. Moving forward, let us just a second take a sight at the Antarctic also. So this is Antarctic. So as I told you, we have three stations: Dakshin Gangotri, the Maitri, and the Bharati. So Dakshin Gangotri is decommissioned; it's completely under ice now. Then there is Maitri here and Bharati here. So both of these are functional. I already told you about the Trans-Antarctic Mountains. So some say they are extension of the South American mountains or the Andes line of mountain going through here, Argentina, Chile, etc. All right. Let's come to the next news, which is new research could disrupt international trafficking of endangered pangolins. So because this is endangered species, we must take care of this. So let us see what this new research is telling. First of all, you can see the pangolin here. So what group of animal does it belong to? It's a mammal. Alright, it has scales on its body. So rather weird finding. It has this elongated nose, which it uses to eat ants or termites or small insects. Alright, so what the problem here is its scales. Its scales are thought at least to have some medicinal properties. And because of that it is poached, that means killed, for both meat and scales. Alright, so it's also endangered. Let us see about this more. So a team led by Professor Kate Abernethy has been sampling genetic material of wild pangolins in Gabon. So Gabon we already know it's in Africa since 2014 and has now enabled the tracing of trafficked pangolins. Disrupting the illegal pangolin trade has proved challenging. There are 8 different species found in 23 countries and they have a collective range of 2.3 million square mile. So pangolin scales are transported around the world for sale as traditional medicine. The white-bellied African species is typically shipped to China and other Asian countries. The International Union for Conservation of Nature lists them as critically endangered. So this is why it's very important for us to read and know about them. Once these Asian species become scarce, traffickers turn their attention to Africa and the white-bellied pangolin. So let us see what's special about this. So it has unique physical features such as it is mammal but covered in keratin scales similar to fingernails or claws. So scales are most often a feature of reptiles, not mammals. Long sticky tongue used to capture ants and termites, their primary food source, and powerful claws for digging into termite mounds and ant hills. It lacks teeth, relying on grinding stone in their stomach to process food. So it has no teeth also. But it has a gizzard in its stomach. It is solitary creature, nocturnal and highly elusive. So what is the geography here? 8 species are spread across tropical and subtropical region of Africa and Asia. 4 Asian species are Chinese Sunda. Sunda means mostly Indonesia, Indian and Philippine pangolin. In India also it's trafficking it highly, uh, let's say an issue, and it's found in the central Indian region. 4 African species such as ground giant white-bellied and black-bellied pangolins. Okay, let's quickly come to the next news, which is activist Ali Abu Awad and pianist Daniel Barenboim win Indira Gandhi Peace Prize. So we'll see about this. Okay. So the Indira Gandhi Peace Prize for Peace, Disarmament and Development for 2023 has been jointly awarded to Daniel Barenboim and Ali Abu Awad for their efforts in bringing together youth and people of Israel and Arab world for a non-violent resolution of Israel-Palestine conflict. So Maestro Barenboim is an Argentinian-born distinguished classical pianist and conductor, renowned for performing with and directing some of the leading orchestras in the world. Apart from his musical achievements, he is also known for his relentless endeavor in using music to foster harmony in West Asia. Mr. Awad, on the other hand, is an eminent Palestinian peace activist who has been working tirelessly with people of Palestine and Israel for a peaceful resolution on the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Born in 1972, he was raised in politically active refugee family. So just a small news. Let's come to the next one. Another small news. So India's fastest solar electric boat Barracuda launched. So this is one of the move that we are moving towards renewables. Barracuda is a fish actually. So solar electric boat. So this is also running on renewable energy essentially, and it's being used for transport. So taking ahead of the cause of eco-friendly maritime transportation, Barracuda, which is said to be India's fastest solar electric boat, was launched at the yard of Nebad Solar and Electric Boats located off Arur in Alappuzha. Alappuzha is in Kerala. Alappuzha is basically a river. So named after the swift longfish, Barracuda was designed by Nebad and can be deployed even in the rough seas as workboat to ferry up to 12 passenger and cargo. It is engineered to navigate through waves as tall as 4 meters and operates without noise, vibration, and any sort of air pollution. So, this coming after COP28 is a good news that the development of electric vehicles has been increasing in India. Alright, so you can just remember the name of the Barracuda, that is the fastest and first solar electric boat on the coast of India. So let's quickly see this news. Center agrees to examine measures to ensure constitutional safeguards for Ladakh. So Ladakh is demanding statehood. Let's see this quickly. So MHA has agreed to examine the demand of civil society groups in Ladakh to provide for constitutional safeguards for the union territory. So it's currently a UT and it is demanding statehood. Why it's demanding statehood? Because of 5th and 6th schedules. Alright, so several civil society organization political leaders have demanding constitutional safeguards such as Ladakh inclusion in the 6th schedule of the constitution. So what we need to see quickly is what is the 5th and 6th schedule. We'll just skip this. So Article 244 of the Indian Constitution defines scheduled areas as the areas defined so by the President of India and are mentioned in the 5th schedule of the Constitution. In India, there are 10 states having scheduled areas. Article 244 deals with the scheduled and tribal areas. The 6th schedule under Article 244 2 subsection of the Constitution relates to those areas in the states of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram which are declared as tribal areas and provides for district or regional autonomous council for such areas. Basically, it's the preservation of the rights, customary rights, as well as the way of living. Alright, so the government does not want to interfere with the customary right or the way of living of the tribals or such areas. And Ladakh is one such area. Ladakh has over 90% of the population, that is tribal population. So it's asking to be given a statehood so that it can come under 5th or 6th schedule. Alright, so this is defined in Article 244.1 and 244.2. So this is the 5th schedule of area. The provisions regarding the administration and control of scheduled and tribal area of any state except the 4 states basically in this. So these 4 states are northeastern states and these 4 states are covered in the 6th schedule. So basically the caveats are same here. You can see Leh Ladakh here, the mapping portion. So Leh Ladakh has just a second. So there are 2 districts in Ladakh. One district is Leh district here, and one district is Kargil district here. Alright, this is the Jammu and Kashmir. Ladakh has also borders here with China, this side with China, and this side with Himachal Pradesh. Alright, let us see some more mapping, which areas are missing. So in this portion here, Ladakh here, this is Kargil here. You can see Aksai Chin here. This area is grabbed by China. So this area here is grabbed by the China, that is known as Aksai Chin. This is the Siachen Glacier, the very important glacier. This is the Xinjiang region, very famous in the news because of the Uyghur Muslims. This here you can see a very narrow pass connected with Afghanistan here. This is Gilgit-Baltistan and the northern areas, and this is Sakshikam Valley. This is also a disputed region in news. This is Kashmir here, you can see, and this is POK, the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. The next news we'll deal in next lecture, which is India set to launch its first X-ray polarimeter satellite. So for this lecture, we'll just leave it here. This is Yatharth here. Just a second. So this is Yatharth here. Thank you for watching the lecture and being with me, being with Sarat Chandra IAS Academy. I'll upload all these notes to our Telegram channel. Have a good day. Keep studying. Be bright. See you again.